In talking about LaTeX typesetting, one very important thing we need to consider is how to make tables and data presentation. Tables and data presentation in LaTeX is the focus here. And our learning objectives include to create structured, readable tables, and of course, manage complex data presentation layouts. So straight to it, we want to see the prerequisites and packages we need if we need to make tables like this. So we have preamble essentials for professional tables. Of course, after the usual documents class where you would have declared whether you want to write an article, a report, a book, or things like that. So talking about tables, if you want professional rules, you need Booktabs. Then you have Tabularx, which is good for with flexible tables. Then you can also have a package called Longtable for multi-page tables. So if you have a page spanning beyond the page, then long tables should do the work for you. And then you have array for custom column types. Then you can have use package caption because this helps you to caption your tables better because every table you need to name your table, right? Like maybe you're writing a paper and you need to say table 5 refers to whatever, whatever. And then you can have sub caption. So this is good for figures or tables that are placed side by side. So like in the previous video where I talked about images or figures, so you have two figures. In fact, you can have as many figures as possible in just one, what should I call that now? In one, so you have a figure, but in that figure, you have like two or more other figures, sub figures, so to speak. So you have one figure with two or more sub figures. You can have up to four, five, six. You can have as many as possible, right? So in that case, for each figure, if you need to name it, you need a sub caption for that. Okay. So then you can use package Siunitx for numeric alignment. Then you have this special one, backslash SI setup. So you have table number alignment, center, detect weight true, detect inline weight max, all that. So some extra things there. So for Tabularx convenience, X here talks about stretchy column. So if you can have new column type Y with ragged right, array backslash. So these are some extra things. So you have left aligned stretchy. That's what you have here. For centered stretchy, you have new column type Z, and that's centering. Instead of ragged right, you have centering and array backslash, and then X in that case now. Okay, as usual, don't forget to be having a mini project that helps us to understand this whole table thing. But these are just things in the some fundamentals we need to understand. Now, we have the basic tabular environment. Basic tabular environment. Now, in making a table, there are two parts to it. There's a tabular environment, which takes care of the table itself, right? So that's where you declare the whole thing. So in this tabular environment, now you see begin tabular, end tabular, and then this LCR, L means left, C means center, R means right. So for instance, this table now basically has three columns, right? So the first column will be aligned left, the middle column will be aligned center, and the last column, column 3 will be aligned right. So then, of course, in subsequent, when we see the example, we'll see if you need to put a horizontal rule between the columns and all of that. So in this case now, still talking about the begin tabular to end tabular. So you have a top rule to rule a line, and then you have middle rule. Maybe after you have your head in left, center, and right, you have a middle rule, and then these are the things here: apple, banana, cherry, dog, elephant, fox, and then you have the bottom rule. Now that's the begin tabular. But if you look at the whole thing, the begin tabular just declares the table, but then the begin table is where you can center the table, you can put a caption, you can label the table, and like that. So that is really also important. So you will notice that figures are captioned below, while tables are captioned above. So I think that's a very common paradigm for declaring figures. Figures captioned below, tables captioned at the top of the table. Okay. So then you have column specifiers, which I talked about before. That's LCR for alignment. That's left, center, and right. And then you can also use top rule. So you see, this top rule is the line just below the okay. The top rule is the line just above the heading, and the middle row is the one below the heading. Then you have all the whole thing you want to do in your table. And finally, you have the bottom row, which is the line after everything has been declared. So, and all of this can come from book tabs. Okay. Now we have column alignment, column alignment. Then we can have the possibility of multiple columns and also see mid row. So in this case now, we have something like this. So begin table H, that's like here. Then centering, caption. So for caption, I'm grouping with text backslash multi-column if you want multi-column. Now look at this now. So the table is now multi-col, but then this is the actual table. So you have top row and you have multi-col 1C team, multi-col 2C Q1, multi-col 2C Q2. So you're having multiple column. It's more like having a column in a column or something like that. All right. And then you have sales, cost. So this can be somewhat tricky. If you don't have this type in the mini project, I'm going to come and pick this up and run it so you can see what we mean by that. So in a column, you can have multiple columns. That's what this kind of thing is about. And then of course, this whole thing now is the begin table. This is what allows your table to have a table number. All right, without begin table, end table, you won't have a table number. So if all you have is begin tabular to end tabular, you just have the table itself without it being numbered, without it being able to be centered, without you being to caption or label the table. Okay, so here now, star 4C repeats a column specifier, and then semi drew LR I to J draws partial rows for groups headers. We are going to see that in the examples, like I said. Okay, so let's talk about professional styling with book tabs and numeric alignment with Siunitx. So here now, we have begin table. Okay, I think this is like the key place now. So here, begin tabular S table format equals 3.0. Then S table format 3.2, S table format 2.2. So I believe this is left. This is like a table with 4 columns. Left, then you have this S with the special format in here. We said it's professional styling with book tabs and numeric alignment. So here now we are specifying numeric alignment. So that puts you in a bit more control in case you have some unusual tables. So here clearly we have 4 columns. This L, S, S, S tell us about the 4 columns. So of course the first column is aligned left, whereas these other ones are aligned based on the numbers. You have this 3.0, 3.2, and 2.2. So the top row now you have method samples. So of course top row, that's the line before the heading. So the heading is the heading include method samples, accuracy in percent, and time in seconds. And then you have mid row, which is below the heading. And then here you have ABC, where you have the whole data you're presenting. And then you have all that. So what's happening here is that you have some more power over how the columns are like. So S columns align at the decimal point and format with table format. So as you can see here, so you have so you have 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then these numbers are specifying how those particular columns are going to look like. Okay. Then we can have width control with Tabularx. So you can control the width of your table with Tabularx. So in this case now, you have okay, I think this is good. This is fine enough. So here, of course, begin table, centering, blah, blah. So you want to set the total width to text with XYZ. So look at this now. So instead of the regular begin tabular, end tabular, so it's not Tabularx because you want to control the width. So begin Tabularx, text with LYZ. So you have 3 columns, right? First one is aligned to the left, and then you have YZ for the other ones. So because you want to align based on this. So you have the top row, the middle. So field description and notes. So ID. So after the field is the first one is ID, then you now have this long thing, a unique identifier that might be long and wrap naturally. So because you want to wrap, so you have this. And then centered stretchy column, you have this here. Then next you have status. Another field is status. Text can be lengthy, and then you have Tabularx wraps it automatically. So using Tabularx now, you can have, if you have very long words, you can have those things wrapped. So that's why it talks about width control. So even if you have things unnecessarily long, they can be wrapped up. And then you finally, for the last column, you have useful for, this is particularly useful for summaries. So I hope we're going to see that. If not, I'll come back and pick this up. Then X family columns wrap text to fit the table width. So that's what that does. X family columns wrap text to fit table width. Okay. So in Microsoft Excel, for instance, there's text wrapping so that any unnecessarily any table that has very lengthy words, they can be broken down into several columns in such a way that the table is still nicely in place. So we have large or multi-page tables with long tables. So if you want to have tables that span different columns, I mean different pages rather, you use long table. So here now you have some special things. So you have to set the length, and so these are optional spacing tweaks. Then now you begin long table. So you see this now. Okay, this one is all the way down. So in this case, there's no begin table, end table. It's just begin long table, and that's what takes care of the whole thing. So you have three columns for, is it three? I think it's about, yeah, I think it's three columns. You have long table, left, this and that. So so you have the S formatting. Then you have caption, long table across pages. So that's the caption. Then the top row, now you have item count and score. So mid row, you have that end first head. Top row, you have item count score. Mid row, end head again. Then mid row, you have this whole thing. So bottom row, end last foot. So in case I don't get to do this, you can have access to this. I don't know. You can ask for it. Just ask me for it if you need it, or you can just make it up, do it yourself, right? Then the actual body of this whole thing is now where you have this body repeats row as needed. So you can add many rows to see page breaks. So you can extend this as much as possible so you can see what it looks like. Then long table handles captions, headers, and footers across pages. Then you can combine figures and tables in floats side by side. I mean, that would be very good if you need to show a table data in the table and then figures side by side. So in this case now, you can begin figure and center. Then you can then begin sub-figure like this. So here you place the figure here. Where's the figure going to be here? Okay, well, I mean, this has been done in such a way that you can have a placeholder. But if you want to put your figure, you can insert graphics. But this F box now is just going to draw a rectangle there to take the place of the figure. So you're going to have the figure there. Then you also have another begin subfigure, end subfigure. So it is in this second begin subfigure that you now have, so you now have begin tabular, end tabular within that subfigure now. So it means that the first subfigure is actually the figure, while the second subfigure takes care of the table. So if you want to put the two together, so here now figure and table presented side by side in one float, you're going to see that. So we have subfigure from subcaption and caption of table lets a table live inside the subfigure. So a table can actually live inside the subfigure. You can have a table inside the subfigure. That is what that means. So let's talk about notes, footnotes, and table notes. So in this case now, begin table, end table. But of course, the big deal is actually the begin tabular and the end begin tabular, all right, end tabular. So here now, you have group mean and standard deviation. So you have control footnote mark. So on this control now, you're going to have a footnote mark. So like maybe you have a star on top of it. And then the footnote text will now be control measure at baseline with 0, okay? That's the baseline. And then you have so, I mean, it's basically about this footnote thing. So you can put footnotes on items on a table. So you have the footnote mark, and then down here, footnote text, you put the text that you're referring to with that mark up there. Okay. So then you have these other things. Caption setup, justification is entering, caption setup font is small, and all of that. So you have footnotes with footnote mark plus footnote text, which keeps table clean instead of having unnecessarily long stuff in the table. Okay, so this is our mini project. You can see how elaborate this is. So of course, this is just like the story before we actually get to see what the tables what tables look like here. So we want to create a 1 to 2 page LaTeX report that demonstrates professional data presentation and table design. Instructions. Your report should include the following components: data set introduction, So you can briefly describe your data set, what it represents, its source, and its purpose. Then you can mention key variables of fields. Then you have summary table with book tabs plus Siunitx. So present a well-formatted table summarizing key results such as averages, counts, or performance metrics. Then align numeric values neatly using S columns from Siunitx. Then you can use top row, mid row, and bottom row for a clean professional look. Then auto width table for auto width table with Tabularx for variable descriptions. You want to create a table that lists variables, their definitions and units. So use Tabularx to make the table automatically fit within the page width. Then define custom column types, e.g. Y or Z for better text alignment. Then you have multi-page appendix for Longtable now. So include an appendix showing raw or detailed records using Longtable. Ensure headers repeat automatically on each page. Add captions and labels. These are things we saw before. So these are the deliverables now. So a simple compiled PDF containing all sections, clear sections, headings, and consistent caption formatting, professional spacing and alignment. You can avoid vertical rows too. So evaluation, you want to see how readable and aligned the table is, then proper use of LaTeX table packages, then aesthetic presentation and consistency across sections. So those are the ways you judge if your table is well done. So we have this lengthy thing. So I'm just going to copy it over there. But of course, lest I forget, some quick checklist after you useful while compiling. Use Booktabs rules. Avoid vertical lines for a clean professional look. I mean, sometimes I like vertical lines. So it all depends on what you want, right? But I'm going to demonstrate what all of that means. Align numeric columns with Siunitx columns for precise decimal alignment. Use Tabularx when your table must fit the full text width. So don't forget this one. If you want to do text wrapping, for multiple page tables, switch to Longtable to handle automatic continuation. Keep captions concise and always place label after caption. So label must always come after caption. Then prefer minimal ink. So use fewer lines. Add white spaces for clarity and readability. So I'll just come back now and copy this, and take it to Overleaf. Overleaf is the easiest. You don't have to install anything. Overleaf is the easiest LaTeX editor, right? So you don't have to install anything. But if you're not online and you want to use any other editor, I use Text Studio, so you may want to use Text Studio. There are others like Tech Viewers, Leaks, Technic Center, and all of that. But I like Text Studio in particular. Okay, so I want to create a new file now, which I call Article 8. All right. Then I create that new article. Then I paste it here. So I paste that our mini project here. So I'm going to run it and then try to explain as much as I can. So I've set Overleaf to run automatically. Once there's any change, it's automatically updated. So you can see we have data report, example study. So you can put your name. Okay, let's even look at the preliminary stuff that makes that possible. So document class is article, right? So we have Booktabs, Tabularx in case you have very long words in the table and you want the table to adjust automatically. So you have that. Then for Longtable, in case you want a table that spans more than a page, then you have array, caption, subcaption, those things we saw initially. Then we also have this new column Y and Z thing for for managing how the table looks like in some cases. Then you have geometry, margin all around. Then lip sum is just for placeholder text. So anytime you want plenty words in a place, so you can just use lip sum like that. So what they don't necessarily make sense. I think they're in Latin or something like that. But you just want plenty words because you don't have that happens a lot if you're building a website and you just want to populate it before you have the real thing to put there. So our title, the title is data report example study. Your name, you can put your name there. Let's say your name is Longman John, maybe. Let's just have that. Okay, automatically that updates, and we have Longman John, October 28, 2025. So the introduction says, okay, let's see how the introduction looks like. So the introduction is the first section. This report summarizes key metrics from an example data set, represents a professional results table with aligned numbers, a width flexible table of variable descriptions, and a multi-page appendix. Okay, so that's what exactly we have here as a section. Of course, as usual, you see this 1 and 2, they don't have any dots after them, and I particularly like dots. So you can just put sec dot, that's the package that makes dots possible. So it's going to automatically compile now and give us the new kind of thing. Yeah, you can see we now have 1.2 dot for the sections. Okay. So now we have the result table here. So see how this is done now. So we have the section, but then we have the whole begin table, end table thing here. That's the whole thing. But then the tabular itself is this one. So you have the tabular right here, begin tabular, end tabular. But the begin table is what makes you to be able to center, to caption it, and then we have a footnote thing going on here too, right? So but within the begin tabular itself, let's look at the begin tabular up to the end tabular. Okay. So here we have begin tabular left, then we have the S thing to take care of how to take care of the formatting for each column. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 columns: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Model N, accuracy, precision, and recall. We have all that. It's more like something coming from a machine learning thing. So you have baseline, regularized, and ensemble. So you have N 120 each time, and then you have accuracy, all these ones. You have precision, all this. You have recall, all this. So it seems like something out of a machine learning project, so to speak, right? So, and then we have footnote size. This is you trying to manage your space. So within the same table, you have vertical space 3 points and footnote size note values rounded to 2 decimals where applicable. And that's exactly, so if you come to this table now, okay. So if you come to this table, you see what you have here. I think we have some kind of text wrapping here too. So, okay, have I gone too far? Yeah. Okay, still up here. Good. So it's still up here. So you have note values rounded to 2 decimal places where 2 decimals were applicable. So because you wrote it right here, that's why it's coming right beside the text, right beside the table. We could have put it under that table. I mean, for a very simple table, maybe would have easily done this. So if I want to undress this table, so to speak, all I could have just done is we don't need to do all of this trouble. So I just paste this now. So I'm going to remove all this special dressing, all this S table formatting and all this. So since we have 5 columns now, maybe all we could just have done is we can even do C, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if I do this now, see what the table looks like. In fact, I want to remove the first, this text here that is also there. So I just remove that. So we have a very plain table. So that'll be automated. Yeah, you see that now. So you can see everything here is centralized. Everything is centralized. So those 5 C's I did, it means everything should be centered. If I don't want the first column to be centered, I just change that the first C to R. I mean to L rather, and that becomes, so you can see it's aligned to the left. So if you want something aligned to the right, I can also change this to R. You can change any of the columns to L, R, or anything. It all depends on what exactly you want. So you see this one has been aligned left now. So maybe if I want CCCC, this is okay. All right, like what we had before. Now, what if I want a line to start the table, to start each column and end it. So I just put a vertical bar here. It's on your keyboard. It's on top of my backslash. So if I do this now, you see a line is going to come to this side. So you can see that. I can also come here and do another line, which comes to this other end. Okay, it comes to this other end. But we've been told that it's better to avoid lines because we want to use as few lines as possible. You can also have lines in between the columns. These are, so you just put it in between all the CCCC here, right? So you can see you have lines in between like that. So sometimes so again, instead of this top rule, I could have just, so another thing you can do, instead of this top rule, you can just have H line, okay? You just have like an H line instead of top rule, you just have H line. So, that goes. So instead of anything rule, you just have H line all the way. So I'll just copy and paste. So I can double, instead of that, so that's top rule now. For mid rule, I can have double H line. Okay. I just double that basically. So another H line can come like this. So you see, I double the one at the top here. So you can see we have double H line here, as you can see here. And then, of course, if you also want H line in between, it's also possible. But you want to have as few lines as possible. That's the deal. So you want to have as few lines as possible. So you can rule through all these things too. So if you want lines everywhere, that can definitely work. Okay. So that's like the very plain way of going about this. So if you want everything left, just change all the C's, all the centers now to LLL. So, or you can change, maybe you want some to be center, you want some to be left. So you can see everything is left now. What if you want everything right? So R, R, that's everything right. So it also changes. So you can see everything has gone right now. But let me take you back to where everything is C, 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 C. Okay. That's like Control Z here. Okay, this is like H line, H line. So we have like H line like that. Okay, so these are not so that's like the plain thing. And then we've seen this S table formatting where you are in charge of how wide this should be, so you can take care of that. So another one is this, you have variable descriptions now. This is where you have this result. So look at the way this whole thing looks like. So you have unique identifier and everything. So here we are using Tabularx. Okay. Imagine we have Tabularx. So anywhere there is any unnecessarily long word. Like if we're not using Tabularx, this one would have gone on unnecessarily. Okay, in fact, what I'm going to do is for that experimental group something something something, I'm going to say experimental group label, right? So I'm also going to so I want to double that text so you can see what happens if that happens. So instead of normally extending unnecessarily. So the text just keeps wrapping and it keeps going down. And then you see, I've doubled it so it keeps going instead of normally just going straight, straight, straight. So that's the job of Tabularx in that case. So Tabularx, if you have unnecessarily long words, so the text will be wrapped and then you can manage your space, right? Okay. So you can also have uh you have this figure plus table optional. So if you want to put figure and table together, so you have begin figure, all right, begin figure. So you now have the first subfigure, which is actually a diagram, and then we draw something as a placeholder, and then coming down here for the second subfigure now, you have for the second subfigure, you have this where you have your table now. You have a table and a figure by the side. Okay, so see what the result looks like. So you have the figure, workflow diagram placeholder, and you have side-by-side representation. So you have the figure and you have the table side by side. And of course, that's optional. I've never used that, but if you need to use it, it's okay for sure. Then imagine you have an appendix. Imagine this appendix here. I guess let's see what we're using. Now we're using a long table. So maybe what I can do here is to can I double this stuff? Yeah, I mean, what you can do here is for this appendix now. Okay, I think this is full listing now. Let me see what we have here. So in this appendix, we are using long table. So if you extend the table and it takes as more item that goes beyond one page, so long table will do the job. So we don't have enough data for this, so we can keep. Let me see if I can just keep duplicating it as much as possible and see what happens. How does this work? Yeah, I think it should work. So I've extended that table now. Let's see how it goes. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think this should work. I'll just keep pasting. I'll just keep pasting. I'll keep pasting. How far has it gone now? Should, yeah. Okay, it's still going. So I keep pasting. I paste again. I just keep pasting. All right. So I think it has extended beyond one table. So you can see it. So the beautiful thing is that it tells it continued on the next page. And because you have ID count score, you still have the same ID count score on another page. So if you keep going, if I let me copy this whole thing and just paste. So if you have something that plenty, so that can perfectly work. Okay. So that perfectly works. So I copy all of this and see, I think this should go into like three tables now. So we have the first one where the table started, and then by the time this finishes running, so we have like three pages for that table. One, two, three. And what is making that possible is this long table. Okay, so you see it has its own plenty things. So you have long table, like that. You have long table. It's really long, as you can see. And then at the end of the day, you have yeah, end long table, begin long table. So I mean, if you have long table like this, and then you have all these of course, you can take charge of the columns as we've been saying before. Yeah, so with this, I mean, if you want to do this in Overleaf, all you just in Text Studio, just copy and paste there. Okay, maybe I should even do that. Just copy, bring it to Text Studio. Okay, bring it to Text Studio, and probably create a new document for that. Create a new document like this, paste it, you know, and then just run it and you're good to go. So it's processing. So whatever you do on Overleaf, you can do here. But the advantage of this one is that you don't have to be online. But for Overleaf, you have to be online because it's internet based. And Overleaf is particularly good. Okay, it's telling me some captions are not working well. Okay, maybe I need to save it or something. So in that case, let me just not bother. So if you need to get other things to do it, you need to probably install some packages. But that's the benefit of Overleaf. And for this overlay, for instance, when I have some issues, I can tell it to help me correct it, right? I can tell it to help me suggest. So because I have I think I had to pay for something like something that can help me correct errors, when there are errors like that. This is not giving me any good suggestions. Okay, maybe this will do something. Let me check files content. Okay, no helpful thing so far. Maybe we just have duplications of. So I don't think it's any big issue. But if you have a real project, then you can actually, yeah. Okay, this is something. Okay, I think it's this whole thing now. We have it's a tab repeated twice. So with this now we have what I said. So we now have only two errors. So let me see if I can. This is another thing we can correct. Okay, so so it's suggesting something, so I can apply the suggestion automatically. Then it takes care of that. So the errors have been reduced to one. So here now we have a clean something talking about tables now. Okay, so we have this thing. Okay, we can find it in the downloads. So I come to downloads. Okay, and then we have this. Okay, so we have this talking about it. So for the long table margin from page 3 to page 3, page 4, page 5. So begin long table and end long table. So if you have to work with a long table. All right, so with this, I think I've done justice to the idea of tables and data presentation using tables and everything. So we've seen various dimensions of this. And by the way, don't forget the things to check out to check for when you're working with tables. So thank you so much for listening. Let me know how helpful this is for you. If there's something else you'd like me to try, feel very free to let me know. If you have subscribed already, I thank you so much. But if you have not subscribed, of course, you want to go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss anything again on this channel. And of course, hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. Having done that, you can also become a member of the channel by clicking on join to become a member of the channel. That comes to some special privileges, which might include us hanging out, depending on your membership level. Ultimately, don't forget to comment, like, and share so that more people can have access to the great content I have going on here. Till I come your way again, keep doing LaTeX right. Bye.